You're listening to Indy's positive, encouraging KLove. 101.9 WKLU, Brownsburg, Indianapolis.
The following program is a KLove Public Affairs presentation. Views and opinions expressed on this program aren't necessarily that of the host, staff, or management. Content may not be suitable for young children. KLove is committed to community. Closer Look continues with a look at local agencies, events, and issues. Here's Kenny Noble Cortez.
From the www.pachyonychia.org website. Pachyonychia congenita is an ultra-rare genetic skin disorder that causes blister and calluses on the feet, thickened nails, cysts, and other painful conditions. Our very special guest this week on Closer Look is Mary Schwartz, director of the Pachyonychia Congenita Project, the PC Project. Welcome to Closer Look, Mary.
Thank you.
So that we can get to know you just a little bit better, would you mind sharing a couple of highlights in your life, where you're from, your passions, that kind of thing?
Basically, I'm a grandma. I have 24 grandchildren. Those are my passions. I was born in Florida, lived in California lots of years, and have been in Salt Lake City, Utah the last 20 years. My hope is to make a difference for those suffering from PC.
Beyond some of the symptoms that I just mentioned, just exactly what is Pachyonychia congenita?
Yes, it's an ultra-rare blistering skin disorder that's caused by a single mutation in a keratin gene. So we all have about 40,000 genes. We all have many mutations. They're usually called polymorphisms because they don't make any difference. But this one single change that just changes one amino acid causes all of these problems. So it was named Pachyonychia, meaning thick nails, which is one of the characteristics. But all of the other parts are extremely painful, all from this one tiny mutation.
What might a person think at first if they develop some of these symptoms, since this is a disease I had previously not ever heard of, or even a doctor for that matter, who was trying to diagnose this condition?
Misdiagnosis is a big problem. Many of the people contacting us are not diagnosed until they're 40 or 50 years old. But some of the other disorders, epidermolysa bullosa is another blistering disorder, sometimes confused with PC. Infants sometimes are diagnosed with thrush because there will be white keratin in the mouth. Sometimes children at school are thought to have fungus, nail fungus, a variety of things. There's no single other disorder that's like Pachyonychia congenita, but there are many disorders that cause callousing without the pain that can be confused.
What is the motivation that brought you to want to bring greater awareness of PC to the general public?
I love that question because PC Project is all about love. And basically my son fell in love with a wonderful, wonderful young woman who has Pachyonychia congenita. That was in 1993. They married. He fell in love. I fell in love and said, we can do something about this. And so that's my passion. It's my daughter-in-law. And I just absolutely want to make a difference. And now, going from one person, I now know 1,000 people with this disorder, and they're all my adopted kids and grandkids, and I love them all.
What are the chances that any one individual would acquire Pachyonychia congenita, or I guess, what are the chances of getting the disease in the first place?
Right, I understand, because it's not something that you get. It's something that you're born with. It happens during the time that the fetus is being formed, and so we don't know right now how many people have Pachyonychia congenita, but we can make some guesses. So a rare disease in the United States is 200,000 and less, and Pachyonychia congenita is probably from 2,000 to 10,000 in the world. So it's an ultra rare disease. So the likelihood that you would have this is low, but it happens spontaneously. There's no cause. It's not something that the father or the mother did, or it's not something, there's a lot of mystery about genetic diseases that happen spontaneously. It's just a mistake in the code when the baby is being made. And So it is ultra rare.
You mentioned just a few minutes ago that it was difficult to diagnose before the age of 40 or 50.
No, I'm sorry. I must not have been clear. It can be diagnosed at birth.
Oh, at birth.
But I said misdiagnosis or lacking in diagnosis often happens because physicians aren't familiar with it. And, we're talking about countries all over the world. Even here in the U.S., there are people who are never diagnosed until later in life. Or now that the Internet is available, there's more information there. They see our website, they say, oh, now I see other pictures of what I have. So it isn't that it can't be diagnosed, it's just that because it is so rare, sometimes it's difficult for people to be diagnosed.
Okay, so I understand clearly. You indicated this is not a disease you can get, but it is one that is caused by a genetic disorder. Right.
Well, every human has 2 copies of every gene. And so everybody has 2 copies of these keratin genes. They're referred to, these particular ones that cause pachyonychia are referred to as K6A, K6B, K16, K17. Those are their names. So you have 2 copies of all of those. I do. But we don't have Pachyonychia congenita. So if in the coding, 1 copy of that gene has a mistake in the coding so that it doesn't produce DNA that's with the correct code, it has 1 small change, then you would have Pachyonychia congenita. And that isn't something that's acquired along the way. That's something that you are born with your genes. You are born with yours, I'm born with mine. Those with PC have this 1 copy of 1 gene that has this change.
Okay, I would imagine then that in addition to greater awareness, increased funding would be a goal so that we can better understand the causes and the impact of those causes.
Funding is important. We have an amazing collaboration around the world of the top dermatologists, the top universities, the top scientists working with us on this rare disease. It's phenomenal. And we could not fully fund all that is being done in PC research, but we need funding. Even the genetic testing, for example, in the 1,000 patients that we have over 500 of those now have had genetic testing, and those genetic tests cost around $2,000, $2,500 for each test. So there's funding even for the very basics to find out what the specific mutation is before we can even begin to address how to target that mutation or how to affect that. So all of this research has a great impact on leading research which will not only affect this group of people, but all genetic diseases, all skin diseases. So we're very excited about the research going on.
This is Closer Look. My name is Kenny Noble-Cortez, and a very special guest on Closer Look this week, Ms. Mary Schwartz, who is the director of the Pachyonychia Congenita Project, or the PC Project. And we're talking about this interesting and extremely rare disease, Pachyonychia Congenita. Now, we were just talking about funding, and some folks may say, well, why should I give to a charity that's only going to help a few people?
That's a great question. A few reasons. First of all, any funds we received are matched by a sponsor, $2 for $1. So the impact of the donation really has a great effect on research. Second, when you have a small identified population where you can gather great detail, we have what's called an IRB-approved registry where we gather great detail about a small number of people. That can impact large numbers of people because we all have skin and we all can benefit by the things that are learned about this small group. We're able to target and direct our funds so that there's very little loss to overhead or to the needs of that other organizations which are trying to help millions of people have to spend considerable dollars. So a dollar here makes an enormous impact directly on research.
One of the terms that came up while I was researching this is gene splicing. I don't really understand what that is. Can you explain what gene splicing is?
I can, but I want to also direct your question just a little bit differently. We're on the leading edge of research, many different research techniques, and gene splicing is one of them. That's quite a new technique where they go into the gene, insert a correction to the code, and that overcomes the problem. And that is being tried for several different purposes. The other leading technology that we're working on is called siRNA. The Nobel Prize a few years ago was given for siRNA technology, and we, as a small organization, have been able to have an FDA-approved clinical trial, which is kind of unheard of for such a rare disease and such a small group. But we had a full phase 1B FDA-approved clinical trial. And this siRNA technology is being compared to one of the most important discoveries in science in our time. It will have application to numerous disorders, macular degeneration of the eye, lung disease. It doesn't matter what part of the body it's directed to. Being able to harness this technology, siRNA, which is small inhibitor RNA, is the wave of the future. It's been compared to penicillin. And so we are one of only 6 or 7 groups in the world really focused on siRNA and moving that forward. So gene splicing is one technique, and we're interested in that. There's a number of other. We're developing microneedles, which can be used in many different ways for delivering needed drugs. So anything that we do, we know our focus is clear, and by keeping that focus, accomplishments can then branch out to help in many other areas. So those are just 2 of the technologies that we're harnessing right now.
Gee, it almost sounds sci-fi in nature because the technology is so credible this day and age. Tell us about PC Awareness Day. I know there was a recent PC Awareness Day, and obviously you will want to have another one. How did that one go, and how do you foresee future PC Awareness Days coming along?
We had more than 50 events in 10 different countries. These were each small local events. We had balloon release in Noyon, France. We had a bake sale in the Netherlands. We had a family dinner in Brazil. We had a car wash in Indianapolis or Claremont area in Indiana. And each family kind of decided what to do to help in their own community to raise awareness. We're still counting the votes. You know, it takes a while to really know the whole result of it. But our feeling was that raising awareness, even if we only raised $1, would be helpful, and would be helpful to patients to be able to speak about what is Pachyonychia congenita, be able to talk about it, because it's been a disease that has kind of been hidden. And so we feel like awareness was really accomplished, but we also believe that more than $100,000 was raised on this day. And so, yes, we are looking forward to starting to think about next year and doing this PC Awareness Day again. The main accomplishment, besides the awareness and besides the funds, that I noticed was that people were empowered. In all of these 50 different families, they were empowered to be able to speak out about Pachyonychia congenita, what it is, how it affects their lives, and what we're doing to try to make a difference. So that was very special to me.
The topic is Pachyonychia congenita, a very rare disease. This is Closer Look. My name is Kenny Noble-Cortez, and our very special guest this week on Closer Look is Mary Schwartz, director of the Pachyonychia Congenita Project, the PC Project. What kind of treatment is available for those who have this condition?
When we set out to make a difference, we have as our mission to find a cure for Pachyonychia congenita. If I had been wiser in 2004, I would have said to find a treatment for Pachyonychia congenita. So I will try to explain what's available. We have just done a study with the dermatology department in Tel Aviv, Stanford University, Yale University, and some other collaborators at the University of Dundee, trying to look at what treatments are available to these people. No treatments are effective other than mechanical removal of the calluses and blisters of the thickened nails, removal of the cysts. There are no treatments that are truly effective. There are a few things that are tried, and sometimes we'll have some small effect, such as urea cream or salicylic acid or some of the retinoids, but patients do not remain on those treatments. They just simply are not effective, and after a few weeks or a few months, they realize they're not helping them. Sometimes they even increase the pain. So right now, there really is no treatment, and that is a publication that we're trying to get out into the medical and scientific community, hopefully within the next few months, to bring out the importance of realizing that these treatments are not effective and the need to develop effective treatments. And that's why we have 3 or 4 small clinical studies going on right now looking for other things that will be effective.
From treatment to the disease itself, just exactly how debilitating is Pachyonychia congenita?
Right. Well, it is left untreated. That's how the condition that they're in. And so basically, patients describe it. We just had a meeting, and a patient described his pain on a scale of 1 to 10. He said it's a 20. So the pain from the blisters, if you imagine blisters on the bottom of your feet, trying to walk, it feels like you're walking on hot glass, broken glass that's heated. They're in pain all of the time, and yet these patients are incredibly high achievers. We have young people going to medical school. We have wonderful, amazing patients who, in spite of the pain, just get up and go. They use crutches, they crawl on their knees, they use wheelchairs, they do whatever it takes. They are just one of the most amazing groups of people I have met. One group of, there's more than one type, it's a syndrome. So one of the groups of patients, their main problem are cysts, and they have cysts all over their body. If you've ever had a cyst, you know how painful that is. They become where they have to be either drained or removed, and that's just ongoing. That's not just once in a while. That is their life all of the time. So the blisters on the feet are less for them. The cysts are worse for them. All of the patients, most of the patients have some form of thickened nails, so that every time they go to pay someone at the grocery store, someone will tell them, oh, I know how to treat that. That's fungus, do this and this. So there's an emotional and psychological burden that these patients bear that's very, 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 very great. We're working with our young people to help them know, and just the power of knowing what it is, the power to explain what's going on is of value. But it's a very, very life-affecting and debilitating disorder, and I am astounded at the achievements and the accomplishment and the brilliance of these patients. So it doesn't affect anything but nails and blisters on your feet. It certainly gives you a strong character and a determination to overcome.
How open is Pachyonychia Congenita Project with respect to employees or volunteers, people who you would like to work with? Does the organization itself, is it seeking professionals and or volunteers to assist in this overall goal?
Absolutely. So there's 2 arms at PC Project. The one arm is our patient support group. We hold patient meetings. There will be a patient meeting in Paris, France, the end of this week, another in Edinburgh. Next year we'll have our meetings in the U.S., so we alternate those. And those, we're always looking for anyone who will work with us and help us in these meetings. We run kids programs. Then on the other side is our professional staff, our medical and scientific advisory board, and our international PC consortium. We started in 2004. We invited 23 of the top keratin specialists, scientists, and dermatologists, physicians, people who would come together. Of that group, almost all of them are still active with us, and they are, in essence, professionals, but they're professional volunteers. We now have grown that to about 150, and about 60 of those are active all the time. So, for example, if a patient contacted me today, and we get about 2 new contacts a week, and needed a physician, needed a consultation, needed whatever support they need, this group of about 60 very active scientists and physicians respond within hours, within days. It's very instant. One example, we had a patient in New Zealand that's the only patient we know of in New Zealand with Pachyonychia congenita. This little baby was born and was being diagnosed with thrush. The family contacted us. We were able to very quickly get genetic confirmation that the baby has PC. But along the way, the baby started having bruises, which is not typical. We right away knew that's not PC. This baby also suffers from hemophilia. It just happens, 2 rare diseases in one little baby. Within hours, our medical community was able to respond. So thanks to the Internet, thanks to web meetings, thanks to email, thanks to all the means of communication, we are in one small spot, in one small office. We can reach out across the world for whatever language, for whatever specialty, to bring help. And when you talk about volunteers, no one could afford to pay that group of people. So we must have money to pay for the reagents, the things necessary for the research for these people to use. But they all volunteer a great deal of time to help, and we appreciate that. So both professional and then just at all of these events, there were hundreds of volunteers helping at the car wash, helping at the yard sale, helping at the bake sale. So we are very, very dependent on wonderful professionals, wonderful volunteers of all types.
And we'd like to direct anyone who wishes to learn more about this very rare disease or who wishes to be a part of the solution by going to the website, which is www, and let me spell this out, pronounced Pachyonychia.org, and that is spelled Pachyonychia, Pachyonychia.org. What is the best part of what you do? Why do you continue to be a part of the Pachyonychia Congenita project?
The best part are people. Every day having someone say, I thought I was a freak. I thought I was the only person in the world who had this. I can't believe that I am actually in touch with other people who understand my pain. So the thrill of being able to connect someone in a way that empowers them, that helps them, even though we don't have a cure. One day I was discouraged and said, we don't have a cure and we don't even really have an effective treatment yet. And patients said to me, but Mary, we're connected with each other. So that connection, and I would say that connection between the physicians and scientists to learn how much doctors and scientists want to help and how big their hearts are, how generous they are, how brilliant they are, and yet they talk with me, a grandma, and try to help patients. So it's the people.
We want to thank you very much for taking part of your very busy day and the efforts, the ongoing efforts, thanks to people like yourself that are pursuing a cure to this very rare disease. Thank you so much, Mary, for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
We want to remind you again that the website is www.pachyonychia.org, and that's spelled Pachyonychia. Any other questions, feel free to contact me. Our email address is closerlook@klove.com. That's closerlook@klove.com. For a Closer Look, I'm Kenny Noble Cortez. Thanks for listening.
This has been KLove Closer Look. Find us online at klove.com.